Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph reference 49150. You can see the second generation stainless steel overseas chronograph and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this second generation big date stainless steel chronograph from the Overseas collection by Vacheron Constantin. Now, if there was any barometer of popularity regarding the second generation Overseas line, it was the hue and cry raised by the faithful when the third generation watch launched in 2016. Because the 2004 to 2015 Overseas model was the family that made the Overseas a real competitor to steel sports watches from Audemars Piguet and Patek. Previously and also ran in the category, the Overseas gained panache as well as presence and a butch profile without giving up any of its elegance or refinement when the 2004 model debuted, and it remains a strong play on the pre-owned market, featuring a number of aesthetic elements that you can't obtain on the third generation watch at any price. Now you can see on my wrist, it's slightly over 42 millimeters in diameter. It's a difficult watch to measure because it's so hard to find symmetrical diagonals, but consider it a 42 and a quarter, 42.5. It is fairly slim, however, as the watch is compact given its complexity and the soft iron inner cage for the movement's shielding. 12.6 millimeters thick, it's an easy watch to wear on a small wrist because it's very tidy lug-to-lug. It's only 50.6 millimeters across the wrist, and I'm going to show you how the shape of the case as well as the flexibility of the bracelet help to mitigate against case size and allow the watch to wear well on a smaller wrist. You can see it features a beautiful Maltese cross motif buckle that we'll revisit in a moment. But look at the case profile. The lugs tuck down and around. They curve tightly. It's a short cropped design that wears well on a small wrist, and if I move the watch far away from the camera, you can see proportionally it looks just as good from a distance. But when you get close, you realize that it is the flexibility of the bracelet that really makes the ergonomics, as you can pull it down unconstrained. There's no fight, there's no flare. It doesn't want to pull against the curve of your wrist. It works with you. Ergonomically, it's outstanding. We can get a little bit closer now that the watch isn't on my wrist. What I also want to call out is that the bracelet is fixed with screws to the case. This is the way it should always be done. No spring bars, no spindly poles holding your watch to its bracelet, especially when it's this heavy and this costly. This is how it should be done by every brand. What you'll also note is that on both sides of the bracelet, all of the individual links are removable by screws, so you can get a very precise fit. The bracelet is beautifully constructed. As you can see, a little bit more complex even in architecture than competitors from Patek Philippe and Audemars Piguet. You get the same tolerances and the same beautiful transition of the hairline bevel from the hood to the lug to the bracelet, immaculately aligned and rounded as well as symmetrical in width. You'll also note that in between the folding portions of the links, between the joints, beautifully executed polish, glinting and gleaming as it catches the light as the bracelet bends on your wrist. That's attention to detail that is truly surpassing and worthy of a big three high horology house. What I also appreciate is the recurring but non-intrusive Maltese cross motif. You see it in the design of the bezel, you see it in the junction with the bracelet, you see it in the individual links where they join each other, you'll see it in the interior of the clasp when closed, and you'll see it even in the cut of the knurling on the individual crowns as well as the crown itself. This is a beautifully executed and fully realized design that's coherent from the crystal to the clasp, and the clasp, if you notice, features a clever Maltese cross trigger profile. You can see that little cleft referencing the Maltese cross on the interior of the clasp. You also note the clasp is beautifully rounded to hug the contour of the underside of your wrist rather than a flat board. It's perfectly cambered to wrap around the soft underside of your wrist. You also note that the underside of the bracelet has plenty of aeration channels as well as rounded profiles between the links to avoid pinching skin and pulling hair. Now going back to the dial in the case, you can see the case is handsome, clearly vintage inspired. It draws on Jörg Heisig's 1977 7 Vacheron 222 sports watch, which was a contemporary of the Nautilus and the Royal Oak in the 70s, often mistakenly identified as a Gerald Genta design. It was undoubtedly influenced by Genta, but nevertheless, if you had to describe the design fathers of the Overseas, it would be Heisek for his work on the 222 in the 70s, and then Dino Modolo, a local designer who often worked with Vacheron during the 90s, and Vincent Kaufman, who later went on to become Vacheron's design and art director. So those are the fathers of the design, even if the profile is of the 70s. The cushion profile of the case also sits evenly on the wrist with no hot spots or pressure points, and it allows the bezel and dial to be opened up broadly. You'll note the attention to detail with the vertical satin finish in between the outcroppings of the Maltese cross nooks of the bezel, and then the dial itself beautifully executed. Let's get close and focus. But you can see that it features a ray halt that slopes down from the bezel to unify bezel and dial base. You'll note that the hands as well as the indices are all blackened white gold, and that they are robustly luminescent. Yes, there will be a lume shot. From this angle, you can see the texture of the dial, as well as get a great bird's eye view of that symmetrical double-digit date at 12 o'clock, which is the signature of this model, while that and the asymmetrical counters. As you'll note, the minutes counter for the chronograph at 3 o'clock is significantly larger with broader calibrations than constant seconds at 6 o'clock or chronograph hours at 9. You'll also note that it is a no-nonsense dial layout with standard baton-style hands and an extended blackened lancet-style chronograph seconds hand with an easy-to-read black on silver print. You'll also note that each of the registers is nicely countersunk to add another focal plane. Moving over to the crown side, we talked a little bit about the knurling, the unequal profile of the knurling referencing the wings of the Maltese cross. You will note that these are true screw-down pushers, unlike, for instance, the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean chronographs or the current generation 26311 Royal Oak chronographs. These are secure and sturdy screw downs. The crown is also a screw down, helping the watch to achieve 150 meters of water resistance. Now the watch also has a solid case back because underneath is a inner paramagnetic iron cage that encircles the movement and helps to ward off magnetism. The ISO standard for an anti-magnetic watch is a meek 4,800 ampere per meter of magnetic flux density. This watch is secured against 25,000 amperes per meter. The image of the full rigged ship on the case back, it's reliably rumored to be the Italian naval training vessel Amerigo Vespucci, and if you loop it, I think you'll come to the same conclusion. The rumors are accurate. Inside, Vacheron Constantin caliber 1137, a 37-joule, 40-hour automatic winding take on the Frederic Piguet 1185 with Vacheron's double-digit date model added. 37 joules, unidirectional winding action, very efficient. It has the 40-hour power reserve and a beat rate of 21,600 vibrations per hour. Now it features both a vertical clutch module, so you can leave the chronograph running, and when you start it and stop it, you'll note thanks to the vertical clutch, there's no jump. It simply starts the seconds hand. There's no play in the system as with a lateral clutch. When I say that you can leave the chronograph running, I mean there's no additional wear and tear when you leave a vertical clutch engaged versus a lateral clutch. So if you prefer to have center seconds on your watch, just leave the chronograph running. Again, there's no penalty. The watch does feature a quick set date for the double-digit date mechanism. It does not feature hacking seconds. That's one of the few virtues the 1185 base lacks, but it is a fully integrated column wheel chronograph, which is the other half of the vertical clutch column wheel tandem. The column wheel making for audible and satisfying tactile experience when you press the chronograph triggers. The crisp action is the column wheel in action. You can hear it, you can feel it. It's the way a traditional Swiss chronograph is constructed. Now finally, this is a watch that is considered to be a high watermark for Vacheron Constantin sports watch design, and that puts it in elite company as there are only a handful of well-known Vacheron Constantin sports watches, so it stands amongst the few immortals, up there with the Thunderbird and the 222. You can see the legendary Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Generation 2 and make it yours on our website. And we're back with the Vacheron Constantin Overseas Chronograph Generation 2 reference 49150. Silver dial and stainless steel case, though you'll have to log on to our website, thewatchbox.com, to see that by the light of day.